Good morning, everyone. I'm Bridget Mahoney, the immediate past chair of the Ohio Domestic Violence Network. Welcome, all of you here in person and those of you out in virtual land. So happy that you're attending today. This is actually our 10th kickoff to Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I'd like to recognize our board members who are here today. Our chair, Danya Buchanan. If you could, Danya. There she is. Our chair-elect, Deidre Lashley, Kelly Madewell, Dave Reiber, Cheryl Klinger, Wendy Waters-Connell, Alma Miller, Kathy Mall, Helena Hosu, and Attorney Sam Gilley. And our supportive elective officials, Representative Carruthers and Senator Stephanie Kunze. And our colleagues from other agencies also fighting the good fight with us, the Ohio Attorney General's Office, the Ohio Department of Health, Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services, and the Ohio Association of Community Health Centers. So a few items before we begin. The Lifesaver fundraiser. I checked it this morning. We are over halfway there. $10,060. All right, right? Yeah, already. You know that every donation goes directly toward the services for survivors and their children. You can find that fundraiser on all the ODVN social media pages, or better yet, you can check out the program this year. It's so easy. And how cool is this? You use your phone's camera to scan, where is it? To scan there it is, the QR code, and you can directly make a donation right there. Now, right now, if anybody wants to do that, I won't mind having your phone out, but after that, please put your phones away unless you're taking pictures, but do turn the sound off. Would most appreciate that. Thank you. And also, Advocacy Day is tomorrow. Wow, ODVN staff and member programs. We have so many participating this year with over 50 meetings scheduled with legislators. Thank you to all of you who are participating. We'll be talking about, you guessed it, money, funding. What a great team effort it's been with ODVN staff and program members, combining for an incredible grassroots effort to get that line item in the first place, to keep it, and then increase it. You know, we continue to establish good communication and build relationships with our legislators. Shelters have opened their doors for a firsthand look at operations. That has had a huge impact. Yes, we will thank them for the current line item, but in a strong, very unified voice that is becoming more powerful, we will let them know it is simply not enough. We will educate them why we need to get more dollars to the programs so they can do their jobs, our work. It is a privilege each year for me to get up here and tell you how proud I am of the work being done by ODVN and our 76 member programs, the strides being made to eliminate domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse. You all bring your dedication and strong conviction together. One team, one goal, no more. ODVN Executive Director Mary O'Doherty and staff at ODVN, wow, just wow, you amaze me. I've had a front row seat to ODVN's amazing growth and success for more than a decade now. All the efforts being made through prevention, education, training, engaging men, the legal assistance program, housing, linking systems, media outreach, partner-inflicted brain injury, and policy and advocacy. You are the best and the brightest in this field. So talented, so forward-looking, and action-oriented. Honestly, I can't keep up with all that you do. Our program people, you also get the wow factor. You are the unsung heroes of this team, the highly skilled, passionate, and committed leaders on the front lines on a daily basis who somehow make it work through thick and thin. You persevere through tight budgets and cuts in those budgets, the challenge of caring for and keeping victims safe, all the while witnessing the increased intensity of violence. But you rise to the occasion no matter what. You show up every day. Your doors never close. You find solutions, you save lives. Many times, you are the difference between a life saved and a life lost. This year, ODVN Director of Training and Program Services, Alicia Williamson, had a great idea. Let's showcase the work being done in a video. Ladies and gentlemen, the extraordinary and dedicated people of ODVN and our 76 member programs who are making a difference.
Let's count the ways ODVN and its member programs have made a difference for survivors of domestic violence. In the last year, our programs answered nearly 126,000 crisis calls and ended up helping more than 80,000 survivors with services that included going to court, finding housing, getting counseling, joining support groups. At a time when survivors and their kids were in the most vulnerable place possible, our programs helped get them back on their feet. More than 9,000 of those survivors got a safe place to live. On average, on any given day, nearly 4 out of 5 survivors seeking shelter were able to find a bed on the same day they asked for it. But when our shelters were full, our hotel program filled the gap. With COVID relief funds, our programs helped more than 1,200 survivors and their children to find a safe place to sleep in a hotel and still provided services. Our legal program helped more than 500 survivors with a wide range of legal issues. Our housing program linked survivors to housing resources. Our relocation program paid for moving, rent, and utility deposits. We know there are many more families who need our help but don't know about our services. This year, we improved our outreach by starting a new web chat service. We trained more than 12,000 people and brought in national speakers to help advocates understand why their work is so difficult and so important. We had big wins at the state and federal level. Last year, Ohio's budget included $7.5 million for DV services. It was the first time our state made such a significant investment for our families. In March, the Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act of 2022 was signed into law. Thanks to the advocacy of ODVN and our member programs, VAWA was reauthorized with strong bipartisan support from Ohio's federal delegation. Last year in this space, ODVN honored 8 legislators who led efforts to increase Ohio's domestic violence line item. Representative Laura Lanise, the legislator, who got the line item included in the budget in 2019, is leaving the legislature. We honor her today. We helped shine a light on the ways the systems need to improve. Issuing a report based on responses from more than 500 survivors, we showed that survivors of color are more likely than white survivors to have difficulty getting help from police, courts, and the social services. Our work highlighting the prevalence of brain injury among DV survivors got national attention, including stories in the New York Times and on National Public Radio. ODVN called attention to how poorly workers in the anti-violence movement are paid for their work when we released the Victim Services Compensation Questionnaire Report, an effort we accomplished with the help from other victim-serving coalitions. The Ohio Men's Action Network convened 4 courageous conversations, well-attended virtual discussions about domestic violence that engaged leaders from the faith, athletic, and fatherhood communities. We stand strong with 76 member programs, including 58 residential shelters and 18 non-residential programs, and 8 culturally specific programs among them. We did all that with your support. Thank you for helping us make Ohio a better place for families struggling with domestic violence.
Good morning. It is an honor to be here in person with you all as we reflect on the numbers and stories of lives lost to domestic violence. The data from our 7th annual fatality report was collected from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. We've compiled this data through media reports and from our local programs. After a spike in fatality numbers during the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw a downward trend in fatalities this reporting period. However, we are not to pre-pandemic levels, with only a 17% decrease from last year's record high report. The most disturbing finding from our report was that 22 children and babies were killed, the most since our coalition began reporting 7 years ago. 16 victims were less than 10 years old. including 6 babies who were under 1 year old. The youngest victim was 1 day old, who died from a gunshot wound a day after being delivered. The shooting was also witnessed by the victim's 4-year-old sister. 17 of the murdered children were killed by their fathers. Family annihilation occurred in at least 3 cases. One media report from Lorain County stated that the suspect killed the family dog, his wife Heidi, and their 2 sons, Garrett and Grant, who were 9 and 6 years old, before taking his own life. In Fairfield County, it was reported that Kiara was in the process of divorcing her husband when he murdered her, their 2 sons, who were 5 and 2 years old, and himself. For the cases where children survived, 35% of them witnessed their parents' murder. Looking at the data trends from this report, we are concerned with the high levels of gun violence. Gun violence as the manner of death made up 91% of victim fatalities, which was a slight increase this reporting period. In 42% of these cases, the perpetrator also killed themselves with a gun. We would like to recognize the countless hours law enforcement has spent investigating these homicides. There was both a homicide and a suicide in 22 cases, but in the 42 cases where the perpetrator survived, all 42 have been investigated and every last offender has been charged. A special thank you to officers from Bexley City Police Department, Mora County Sheriff's Office, and Lorain County Sheriff's Office who were able to join us today. Your work has not gone unnoticed. I would like to close by reflecting on this map of pins, designating the 59 adult victims and 22 child victims who have tragically lost their lives. Our job today is to remember them and those who survived, the parentless children and the parents who have to wake up every day with a loss we cannot begin to imagine. However, remembrance is just the first step. We as advocates and as a community must work together to do something about it and create systematic change so victims and their children can be safe. Next up, we will have ODVN's board chair, Danya Buchanan, with a message from the front lines. Thank you.
Good morning. As we sit here today, I ask that you take a moment and think back with me. 2 years ago, we were in a time that we have never experienced before. We were trying to navigate through things, a time that was called an unprecedented time. Everything was different. We couldn't spend time with friends and family. Many of us lost friends and family during that time. It was such a devastating time, and crucial moments were happening to us as a people and to our families. We couldn't go to restaurants, sporting events, doctor's appointments. We learned during that time that we could do everything virtually. Remember being told you were muted while on Zoom? Discovering how to share your camera on Microsoft Teams? No matter the platform that we used, it was an adjustment. We were navigating life in a totally different way. Shelters saw the work in a different way. Many of us saw an increase in the need for services. We were hearing experiences that were gut-wrenching. We were navigating through COVID-19, social distancing, hand washing signs all around the shelter, the determination to do all that we could to keep COVID out of the shelter. Hoteling those that had any symptoms and giving anyone that coughed the eye. We still give those funny looks even today. We were on weekly calls with Shelley Marsh trying to figure out, what do we do and how do we do it? Creating policies and procedures as things came up and as we were going along. But each and every day, those of you, those of us that were on the front lines, we showed up. And we showed up because of the work that we do and for the concern that we have for those that we serve. So fast forward with me. Last year we came back together and it felt like it had been forever. But there was a sense of relief in us being in the same room. And now today, we're here again. And it's because we believe in the work that we do. We believe that it is our job to support, encourage, and advocate on behalf of those that we serve. We stand in the gap for them. We will be their voice until they have the strength and courage to use their own. We believe in them and we believe in this work. So as a person that's on the front line, and I say this to you, thank you for being on the front line. Thank you for the dedication and commitment to this cause of domestic violence. Thank you for the compassion that you have shown to survivors across the state of Ohio. Thank you for being selfless. And thank you for being courageous. Thank you for all the sacrifices that you made every single day for the survivors that we serve. On behalf of every survivor and the Ohio Domestic Violence Network, thank you. Thank you. And now I have the honor of introducing a survivor that's here with us today. So a disturbing finding from this year's fatality report, as you already heard, more children were killed last year, which is the most since ODVN began this reporting. This illustrates the continued work that needs to be done, the continued commitment we all need to make to serve survivors and their families, and the services that need to reach survivors all across Ohio. Sometimes when we're reporting these numbers and statistics, it is a challenge to reflect and remember that behind those numbers are human beings, families with lived experiences that contribute to these reports that we see. Our next speaker, Kellie Elliot, is here from Camden in Preble County to help us remember and keep victims and survivors in the forefronts of our mind. I'd like to welcome and thank Kellie for being here with us today and for being courageous enough to share your story. Kellie Elliot.
So I decided to tell my story today because I want to help make a change in the court and law enforcement systems. And as a whole, I believe we can stand together to make a change for domestic violence survivors and families like mine. I'm coming before you today to hopefully save another mom, a woman, or even a child. My children, Caleb, who was 13, and Grace, who was 10, were my everything. When I first became a mother in 2008, I decided to stay home. Caleb was my reason for living. The first time I heard his heartbeat was the best day of my life. And then 3 years later, I had my daughter, Grace. That completed my world. And that moment she was born, my whole world was complete. I stayed home with both of my children, babysat full time, because me as a mom, I wasn't gonna miss a beat. I wanted to be there for everything. So I was that crazy mom that attended every little thing and did big birthdays. I even coached out every sporting event I was coaching. And for 20 years, I had lived with the abuse from my husband, Shane. It had started simple, and then as the years have gone, it got worse. From busting eggs in my face, pulling my hair, pushing me into furniture just so he could say, "I didn't hit you." He had choked me until I was unconscious several times and had held me at gunpoint. In 2015 was probably the worst beating I'd ever had. Little did I know, Shane had consumed 22 beers in 4 hours. That night, I'd called the police because I knew he was going to kill me. He had pinned me down and told me that he was going to shoot me and then he was going to kill himself so I could watch him die and know that I did that to him. Shane had made contact with me against all orders. I had a protection order against him for myself and my children. He had made contact with me and persuaded me to take him back. And out of fear, I agreed. He was able to plead to a lesser charge of disorderly conduct with the agreeance of rehab. And believe it or not, he was only fined $100. Shane had completed rehab and was sober for a year. By 2018, he was drinking heavy and his moods were all over the place. I had started hiding keys in my shoes with just the fear that something would happen. And I wanted to be able to grab my kids and leave. Shane was notorious for hiding keys, cell phones, cameras, anything that I could use to save myself or that would lead to him being caught in his actions. So in 2018, I started planning my escape. I had started school in 2018. Within 2 weeks, he had wanted a divorce because I was no longer supplying money for him. The accusations from him were typical of an abuser. He would be supportive one day, and then the next day, he would be angry about the same things he was supportive the previous day. This had excelled into extremely heavy drinking and him exploding. In February 2018, he had choked me until I passed out. He had spent hours screaming in my face, taunting me, pushing me. I had hidden in my son's closet because I thought, I'm safe. I'm safe if I'm in front of my children. I'm safe. He will never hurt me in front of my kids. But I was wrong. On May 14th, 2018, I called my sister and my mom, and I packed my things and I got out of there. Once Shane had figured out that I was for real done, I was not coming back. He, of course, was willing to do anything. He'd put himself back into rehab. He'd even went and seen a doctor. He was then diagnosed with bipolar depression. He was prescribed several different medications. But of course, just a few months later, he said he was okay because he was only bipolar and depressed because I lived with him. He wasn't actually sick. So he said he no longer needed medicated. In November 2018, I graduated college and I saved up enough money to move out on my own. I had lived with my parents for 9 months. My kids and I were finally in our own place and happy. By June 2020, I finally got the courage to file for divorce. During this time, Shane would show up at my home, stand in my driveway, threaten me with my children, harass me and taunt me. In 2021, I decided to hire a guardian ad litem. In divorce cases, a parent can ask a judge to appoint a GAL. The GAL's job is to represent the best interests of the children. Their role is to ensure judges have the information that they need to make the appropriate decisions for visitation and custody. I requested the GAL and I paid for her myself because I myself thought that this was going to be the best thing for my children. After I gave the GAL hospital records of my injuries, police records, an entire documented book of incidents from the past 20 years, 4 inches of papers printed of text messages where he had threatened me, messages where he didn't feel like he should financially have to support his children. Times I'd offer him parenting time and he would deny that time. She said my attempts to control his parenting were of serious concern. This was only after he had cried to her and said, "I never get to see my children," which was never the truth. And I had provided the truth to her in his own words through text messages. She then said I needed a psychological exam. That exam ended the exact way I told her it would. It showed I had endured years of psychological abuse, sexual and physical abuse. I was diagnosed with PTSD. She received the exam and slid it back to me and said, "This is not going to change my mind." My son, Caleb, he had also seen a counselor, and that counselor wrote a letter to the courts as well, stating that Caleb had been exposed to long-term domestic violence. He had witnessed his mom being beaten, and he was also a victim himself of physical and verbal abuse. When the GAL spoke with Caleb, he was well aware that this would be seen by his dad, so he didn't speak about anything. He even denied seeing a counselor in fear of what his dad was going to do to him. I gave every single bit of evidence to the GAL: hospital records, police records, photos, letters from counselors, character witness letters, rehab records, and it also made her aware of his bipolar depression. She slid it back to me and said, "It's irrelevant. The past doesn't repeat itself." Mind you, this GAL, she didn't even have children herself. So how could she tell me or any other mother what I was going through? She stated that I wasn't giving Shane the opportunity to be a father. He wasn't the same Shane that he was when I left in 2018. She refused to consider my request for his 50-50 joint custody. I needed that time to be reduced. I needed to be able to talk to my children daily. I needed to be able to know that they were safe in their beds at home. Her recommendation was that Shane and Kellie should enter into a shared parenting plan. Because of the GAL's recommendation, my attorney had then told me, "Don't fight anymore. The longer you fight, you will lose custody of your children altogether." I repeatedly told my attorney and the GAL that I didn't feel my kids were safe from him. I said, "He will do something to my kids to get back at me." I had such an ache in my gut about this. I knew him better than anybody, and I knew how he thought. And sadly, no one listened. On January 24th, he shot my children 4 times, each in the face. And then he turned the gun on himself. He had been drinking, just as I had told the courts. His blood alcohol was 0.383, which is 4 times the legal limit. What will it take for domestic violence survivors to be believed, for them to be heard? How many more children have to die? How many more children have to be abused? How many more women have to be abused and live through this? It seems like every time you turn around, it's being ignored, or it's not, the severity of it isn't as severe as you say it is. They just cover it up with nonsense. But as I close today, I knew that there was shelters in our surrounding area, but I had no idea that we had one just in our hometown. Now, granted, I didn't need a place to go. I don't believe it would have helped me either way, but there's women that do need to know where these shelters are. There's women that need to know. But I myself, I've endured the worst tragedy a mother can ever experience. And I believe it could have been prevented 100% had I been heard and I had been believed. So I'm here today to share my story. So maybe, just maybe, any of you out there in this audience today that have the power to make a change, you stand with me and every other person who is a survivor and help us make a difference. Thank you.
Well, good morning. My name is Lisa DeGeeter, and I am in the unenviable position of following this amazing array of speakers. Because what can you possibly say in response to the data that Maria provided, or the insights that Danya shared, or the reality that Kellie lives and had the strength and the grace to give us a window into? So I think what I'm going to say is obvious. This needs to change, and we are going to make that happen. We know anecdotally that services work, that providing shelter saves lives. But we didn't have good data around that. So this past spring, ODVN commissioned a social return on investment study to take a look at the capacity of our member programs to provide this life-protecting care and to determine how often, due to a lack of capacity, people who are seeking shelter end up turned away. So the good news is, and I think we saw this in the video this morning, that 82% of folks who are seeking shelter receive it same day. And they come into programs that are staffed by extraordinary people, many of whom are here in our audience with us today. And they come into facilities that are comfortable and welcoming. And if you've ever done trauma-informed work, you know that that matters. That isn't extra, that's mission critical. And it takes significant resources to make that happen. So with that in mind, I'd like to take a moment and thank Representative Sarah Carruthers, who's here with us this morning, and Senator George Lang, who's with us virtually, I believe, for their efforts to help ensure that Dove House, our program in Butler County's new 15-unit emergency shelter, is fully furnished. That wouldn't have happened without them, and we appreciate everything you've done to accomplish that. We'd also like to say thank you to Senator Stephanie Kunze, who has steadfastly supported our work, and she constantly expends effort to make sure that the experiences of survivors are centered in Ohio's public policy. That's invaluable. So that 82% number, that's great, but it means that nearly 1 in 5 survivors who are seeking shelter get turned away. And so our data analysts also determined what it would cost to expand Ohio's capacity to meet the actual need. And the information contained on the reverse of the fatality report, that data tells that story, how we reached the $20 million figure that we've requested in the governor's budget for the next biennium. So as Bridget mentioned, tomorrow is our advocacy day. ODVN staff and staff from our member programs are going to be speaking with more than 50 members of the General Assembly, thanking them for the $7.5 million that's in the current budget, but explaining this need and seeking support for that $20 million request. We are hopeful with that expanded capacity that we can reverse this inexplicable rise in child murders and continue the downward trend in overall fatalities. With the right support, we will provide the change that Kellie spoke of. And with that said, it is now my pleasure to introduce Mary O'Doherty, ODVN's Executive Director, who will present our Croucher Awards.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Kellie. You did great. Thank you. Thanks to all the program folks who showed up. Thanks so much to the board members who are here. This is a really big day for the ODVN staff. So your presence here means a lot. Thank you. So every year, ODVN gives the Croucher Award to an individual or individuals who have shown exemplary leadership in the field of domestic violence. I'm so honored to stand here today to tell you about our 2 award winners. First up is Kimberly Stanley, a social worker by trade and a compassionate advocate for crime victims and abuse survivors. Kim recently became the Victim Witness Director for the Stark County Prosecutor's Office, where she works with a team of 11 advocates to assist and support crime victims. I got to know Kim when she was the Executive Director of the Alliance Area Domestic Violence Shelter. She was only 25 when she became the director. In the 16 years since then, she's built a strong program that could easily serve as a model for the state. She's been a strong proponent of trauma-informed care and of ODVN's promising practices. At ODVN and among her colleagues, she's earned a name for being a forward thinker. My deputy director, Shelley Marsh, is responsible for providing technical assistance and training to these directors and their staffs around the state. Shelley told me yesterday, when I would talk to Kim about a new idea, it wasn't unusual for her to say, we're already doing that. Kim is a well-connected leader in Stark County who has shown a talent for bringing people together to improve services. Kim really got my attention during the pandemic. Her knowledge about and her ability to marshal resources, community resources for her shelter was something to behold. In the pandemic's early days, the Alliance shelter never missed a beat, and most days operated at capacity. For the last 9 years, Kim has been a stalwart presence on the ODVN board. She rolled off the board last month, but we are very excited about the work she is doing for survivors in her new role. We know she's going to use this post to make the world, or at least Stark County, a better place for victims. Kim, it gives me great pleasure to present you with the Croucher Family Award for Leadership.
They told me it was heavy, and it really is. Good morning. I cannot adequately express how incredibly honored I am to receive this award. To be recognized with an award named in honor of Jim and Elsa Croucher is such a great compliment. I am also humbled to be in the company of so many amazing individuals who have received this award in the past. However, I can't accept this award for just myself. I have achieved success only because of the many people who have supported me throughout my life. I was raised by a single mom who taught me to be strong, caring, and independent. I had many great teachers, pastors, and coaches who pushed me to be my best. I have always been fortunate to have friends and family who support me and challenge me. At the shelter, I was surrounded with an amazing staff, a dedicated board of directors, and such great community partners. The many colleagues I have met through ODVN's board, their staff, and the many member programs have guided me and mentored me. And in my current position, I have a compassionate and devoted group of advocates, coworkers, and boss. I have a wonderful husband who has provided endless support, encouragement, and many volunteer hours over the years. I have 3 amazing children who help me maintain focus on making a difference in their world so their future is brighter. So I graciously accept this award on behalf of all those who have helped to define and shape who I am today. Most importantly, however, I accept this award on behalf of all of the survivors I have served over the past 18 years. I may not remember all of their names, but I will always carry their stories and their inspiration with me forever. For it is truly the survivors who have given me the desire to be a successful leader and work to achieve social justice. To the ODVN staff, to the board of the directors, to all of the DV programs, legislators, and advocates, I thank you for all that you have done to support survivors of domestic violence. And I encourage you to continue your efforts to fight for social justice and change. I truly hope that one day we can proudly say that we have defeated this epidemic called domestic violence. And we no longer need to share the horrific fatality report and survivor stories. Until then, be steadfast and know that your work does make a difference in the lives of others every single day. Thank you so much.
Bridget Mahoney is an activist and advocate dedicated to the prevention of domestic violence and child abuse. After graduating from The Ohio State University, Bridget became a reporter and then a television news anchor. Her life's path took an unexpected turn after she personally experienced domestic violence. This curveball turned Bridget into a powerful and effective advocate. In 2006, she met Jim and Elsa Croucher, a Middletown couple whose daughter had been killed by her ex-boyfriend when she was only 18. Bridget joined forces with Jim and Elsa Croucher, presenting dating violence 101 classes to tens of thousands of high school students. Their work culminated 3 years later when the General Assembly passed the Tina Croucher Act, which mandates domestic violence and healthy relationship education in every high school and middle school in Ohio. Bridget joined the ODVN board in 2010 and is responsible for creating this event. She used the event to call on legislators to include a line item in the state budget. Her leadership paid off. In 2019, for the first time ever, Ohio's budget included a dedicated line item to fund our domestic violence programs. And last year, the funding increased to $7.5 million. Over the years, Bridget courageously shared the story of her abuse. In 2015, Bridget, her daughter, Julie, and Elsa Croucher and their nonprofit, the Citizens Against Domestic Violence, were sued for defamation by Bridget's ex-husband and abuser. Bridget settled the suit more than 2 years later and more than $100,000 in legal bills. Under the terms of her settlement, she is not allowed to speak about her domestic violence within 100 miles of Youngstown. This experience did not diminish her appetite or her zeal for advocacy. Bridget joined a statewide coalition of citizens, media, and advocacy groups pushing a bill that would protect the First Amendment rights of survivors who want to share their stories or report their crimes. The legislation has been introduced twice by Senate President Matt Huffman, and at least 32 states have passed these measures, which are known as anti-SLAPP laws. Most recently, Bridget helped ODVN organize opposition to House Bill 508, the equal parenting bill that's currently before the legislature. Last year, Bridget rolled off the ODVN board after serving as its chair for 3 years. But she continues to serve as an associate board member, chairing the development committee and leading our annual online fundraising campaign. Bridget, I am so honored to present you with the Croucher Award for Leadership.
Okay.
I'm not gonna use the award. Wow. I really appreciate this award, especially because it is named after the Crouchers, who first gave me a chance to make a difference. Elsa's encouraging words, "You go, girl." Jim pushing me to tell my story. Literally, he would push me up on the stage. He said, "It's time now. It's your turn." I'd like to mention today their daughter, Terry Croucher, Evic. Terry usually hands out the awards. She's recovering from an illness, and we wish her the best. Kim Stanley, wow, congratulations. So deserving. It's been a privilege to serve on the ODVN board with Kim and so many other talented board members through the years. And I'd like to give a couple of thank yous. First, Becky Mason. Becky, where are you? Becky is the ODVN Director of Administration. She is the institutional memory of ODVN, the person we turn to for Robert's rules, and the person who is always the first in line to help you when you come up with even harebrained ideas like walk a mile in her shoes. And that first event at the State House, we could not have done it without you. Thank you, Becky. And Nancy Grigsby, where are you, Nancy? Nancy, you drove into town today. Thank you so much. Retired from ODVN. Nancy is the person who first gave me an opportunity to speak professionally associated with ODVN in front of the Columbus Bar Association. So thank you for that. You helped launch that area of my life. My sister Patty, a calming force in my life, who wisely reminds to always put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and who was resolute in her belief early on that I would give meaning someday to what was happening to me. My sister Jody, who fielded desperate late night calls. One of the positives of her being out on the West Coast, she's watching virtually today. Hi, Jody. Hearing her reactive voice, very reactive voice, sometimes filled with very loud, very intense expletives, was needed. Ironically, it turned out to be quite therapeutic. My children, Mara and Julie, the heroes of my story. At the ages of 4 and 1, they moved my soul and became the motivation to make a change in my life. Their voices were powerful, but those in power did not listen. And that inspired my purpose. Find a way to make things better. I'm grateful for Julie, who had the courage to share her story publicly long before the Me Too movement and long before I did. She hit it out of the ballpark in the Senate testimony for Tina's Law, explaining what was going on in the dating world of teenagers. And she continues to provide testimony for a number of other bills. I'm grateful for Mara, who is passing along our family's core beliefs of respect, equality, and kindness to our children, her children, my grandchildren. I'm grateful as a mother to see their bond as sisters strengthen when it could have been destroyed. As we all strive to make the world a safer place, we know there is still a lot of work to be done, but I'm so encouraged by the amazing work being done at ODVN. It is energizing. So grateful for the vital work being done by our programs. I know that isolation. I know that fear, not knowing who to trust. I know the importance of someone who is in your corner, who is there for you, and who understands. It's priceless. I'm grateful for the legislators who have made ending domestic violence their priority. I'm grateful for survivors who have broken their silence, exposing the raw truths in hopes of helping others. Today, along with you, I mourn the victims who have died. Pray for the victims who are still in abusive situations and the ones who struggle with the aftermath of leaving. And I hold hope for the future of the children who have endured childhood trauma and the enormous journey they face in healing. Thank you for letting me be part of this incredible team of people, for helping me with my purpose, disrupting the status quo, challenging convention, and shattering stigma to help make a difference. Let's all keep moving forward so that one day we can say, there is no more.
And we thank you for being here with us today. Let me start by saying that as we come to a close. I know we have a lot of people standing, but can we have the members of the staff of ODVN just kind of stand and kind of wave your hands so that we can all see you? Thank you. Mary, thank you for your leadership. We all know that this is no small feat to pull off this type of event. You make it look easy and seamless, and we can only imagine the countless amount of time, meeting, and planning that goes into an event like this. Also, thank you for the services that you provide every single day, the support that you provide to the programs when we call. Thank you. Thank you for every single thing that you do every single day, because we appreciate it. You go above and beyond the call. Oftentimes, we don't know as program staff all that you do, and oftentimes we know what you do. So thank you. We appreciate the advocacy work that you do to ensure that we have the necessary support that we need as programs. So we thank you for that. Let's give them a round of applause one more time. And if the board members could just stand. I know you were acknowledged earlier, but if you could stand, the ODVN Board of Directors that are here with us today. Thank you. We have members that serve our programs, and then we have members that are in our community at large, and we appreciate you taking the time to come today to share in this event, to support this event. We just appreciate everything that you do and your continued work. Bridget and Kim, congratulations again. You deserve it. You deserve it. Thank you for the work that you've done, the countless hours that you've done to support survivors across this state. We appreciate your voice, so thank you. Kellie, if you all could stand just for one moment with me. Everybody, just stand. Kellie, to you and to every other family that has been impacted by domestic violence, the one thing that I want you to know today is that we see you, we heard you, and today we stand with you. Thank you for trusting us with your story. You are in our thoughts, you are in our prayers, and if you need anything from us, any of us, this is what we do. You reach out to us and we'll be here for you. Thank you. And to all of our member programs for the work that you do every day, we say thank you. We appreciate your commitment and your dedication to this work. Domestic violence is not a Franklin County problem. It's not a Portage County problem. It's not an Allen County problem. It's a problem. Not just in Ohio, all across this country, people are dealing with domestic violence. After all, that's why we're here together today, to talk about this issue, this thing that nobody wants to talk about, but it's a real thing and it's affecting families. It's imperative that we work together to combat this issue. Thank you to each of you that will participate in Advocacy Day tomorrow, talking to your legislators. It is that conversation and the passion that you have that will remind our legislators that we can't do this work without them. It's necessary for them. And to our legislators, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for all that you will do. We appreciate you hearing our concerns, and we appreciate you supporting our cause. The cost of doing this work is frightening, and yet the funds continue to decrease while the need increases. We will continue to ask for an increase, and we will count on you to support us. Thank you for what you've done and for what you continue to do. Thank you all again for being here. We hope to see you next year. There's some goodies in the back of the room. Have a good day.